talking offshore wind today.
Yes.
And we had on Chi Kung and Tom Byrne.
Right. I was really surprised. I think because I had a picture in my mind of what offshore wind looks like.
Right.
As just like
no trees.
A stick, a stick in the ocean with a spinny thing at the top.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what's fiberglass about that? But
yeah.
apparently there are so many systems and platforms, and there's so many things that fiberglass can get poured into in an offshore wind system.
Yeah, and stuff you wouldn't think of, like drinking water for people who are there. I didn't even know there were people
they were manned. Yes,
there manned.
exactly.
Yeah, so very interesting show.
Right.
And another installment of this sort of FGS miniseries we're doing.
Right.
That's great. Let's get to it. Well, welcome, Tom and Chi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. I was wondering, could you, just to kick us off, can you each introduce yourselves and a little bit about your role at NOV? Tom?
Yeah, certainly. So my name is Tom Byrne. I work for Fiberglass Systems. So I'm Vice President Marine Offshore Subsea globally, based in the UK, just south of London. And so I work with the team, as I say, globally on this business unit.
Yeah.
So.
South of London. I know I've gone north and west. I have not gone south of London.
Okay,
yet,
okay.
so I'll have
And
to
try
check it
east.
out.
I hear it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hit all the cardinal
Yes.
regions. And G.
Well, I'm Chi Kyung. They call me CK. So
CK.
obviously I work with
Got it.
Love it.
Tom. I take care of the APEC for the sales. We sell things like fiberglass pipes, structures. We have a plant in Malaysia. So that's where I'm based in Singapore.
Great.
Excellent.
Well, thanks for coming all this way.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Definitely.
I know you didn't come just for this, but you're here in town.
While you're here.
It's been some bad weather, so bad traffic. So thanks for making it here.
First time to the tower, so it's nice to
Okay,
see it.
great.
So
Yeah.
Welcome.
Nice to be at the mothership.
Yeah.
So.
Wonderful.
You're giving away our top secret studio location.
Tom.
All the fancy gadgets.
Well, I wanted to ask, so y'all are here to talk about offshore wind, and wind has been part of the kind of energy mix for a minute now, but I from my understanding, the past 5 years in offshore wind has really exploded.
Yep.
Could y'all talk a little bit, how did FGS kind of start there in offshore wind?
Yeah, certainly. So from a structural point of view, we started in 2017 on a UK project in the English Channel it's Rampion Wind for a local company in that part of the world. So yes, that was really our first involvement in an offshore substation from a structural point of view. So we got involved. Obviously, the products we offer, they're lightweight, corrosion resistant, zero maintenance, so they're perfect for that offshore market where because of the salt air, you get a lot of corrosion. So the big drivers to use composites. So that was our first project in substations offshore. So, but piping wise, Chi Kyung?
Well, Asia started slightly later. We started the first project 2019. It was a rather small project, humble project. We do something on the wind tower, transition tower.
Okay.
Something like an 8-inch pipe. Probably about another 20 meters kind of pipe. Small thing, but it was a major step.
Okay.
That was the first time that Asia piping, NOV piping, fiberglass piping started to step into the energy transition work. So from then on, we actually move on to things like substations.
Right.
We sold plenty of substations for the last 2 years. One big one was actually Sofia. Sofia, from an 8-inch, 20-meter pipe, we are now selling about 9 kilometers of fiberglass pipe in just one Sofia substation platform.
Wow. So, okay, I'm having trouble picturing fiberglass because I'm picturing like you're transferring oil or you're transferring some type of liquid or something across a distance. What are you using fiberglass for in an offshore wind installation? Like what actually is, like, is it?
That's a good question. Very good question. So, and it's interesting from oil and gas projects offshore to offshore wind projects. There's a lot more fiberglass pipe being used.
Okay.
One of the reasons is that in oil and gas we have regulatory issues to abide by, I should say. Whereas with because you got oil and gas, obviously it's the dangers of fire and explosions
right.
and whatever else. So we're not allowed actually to transport oil or gas or condensate or anything dangerous. So we tend to use just for water services.
Okay.
So switching to an offshore substation, as you say, it surprised us as well when we first looking at this market about how much pipe there is there.
Wow.
But so you've got things like obviously drainage systems. So
Okay.
obviously it rains offshore, so they don't want that just flooding around. So they have gutters, gullies, and that gets collected and disposed of. It's also in things like drinking water. So people out there that are some of these are manned, or if they're so there's people out there drinking water, going to the lavatory. So you got sanitary systems, and then you've things like technical water that they'll use maybe for some specialist bits of equipment, cooling water.
Right.
Again, substations, they create a lot of heat, so they get warm. So they're using seawater,
Right.
which is very corrosive. So it's perfect for composites because they just do not corrode.
Right.
So we use those for cooling the main plant. I think there's 5 services, I'm trying to remember. But also,
We do
Sophia, the
utilities.
utilities.
Utilities is one of the big thing. Corrosion in the metallic world is one big problem there.
Right.
So a lot of pipes were being changed to fiberglass pipes.
Right.
We are not strangers to platforms.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. But when the offshore wind came in, a lot of regulations were not set,
Right.
and they just took things from the traditional offshore platforms and try to mimic it into the wind platforms.
Okay.
So that's where we come in with our experience, and we try to put in more things to the current offshore wind.
Okay. I guess I
Yeah.
I had the wrong picture in my mind. I just pictured maybe just like a wind tower, a fixed tower in the ocean. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, but there's, but now that you mentioned like their platforms, like
Yes.
I've seen like mobile offshore production units or things like that.
Yeah.
I can picture all of the piping and all of the fiberglass network
Yeah.
that's on those types of systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have what they call an array. So you got multiple, as you say, multiple units.
Right.
With your tower and your turbine. So you've got those, as I say, in an array. They connect together and then come to a substation.
Okay.
And that's where the electricity gets gathered, gets converted, and gets sent on shore. So
Thank you for
but-
the education.
But some of these things are enormous.
Yeah.
Honestly, Paul, we're talking like 60 meters by 60 meters by 30 meters, 40 meters tall. So
yeah.
that's all right. That's all metric, but
No, I get it.
They're,
Yeah.
they're big, 180, 190 foot
Right.
square, and then 100 foot tall. So these things are huge. So.
So we've talked a little bit about, pipe is kind of where y'all started in the piping, but I know fiberglass does a lot more. We were at WEFTech. We saw a lot of what fiberglass does.
Fantastic.
So could you tell what do we do now when we're looking at different products and applications for those products in offshore wind?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've discussed the piping applications, as you've mentioned. Keeping with that, there's also tanks, holding tanks, storage tanks, which again is something we offer and supply, and we've just supplied one in Asia, in Singapore, a rectangular tank.
Regular tank,
we supply.
chemical corrosion free tank.
Yeah, but also another part of our business, a structural business, so we're offering grating systems, our handrail system, our Mars handrailing system, which is an offshore specified, qualified product that we use in oil and gas. So equally, we can use it in offshore wind, and then ladders with safety cages, wind walls. So a number of products like that. So if it's almost a case of obviously we can't do everything, and we can't do the very large structural components, but a lot of that's what we call tertiary structures we can offer in composites. And again, for the reasons exactly like our piping, they're lightweight, they do not corrode, they don't need maintenance.
Right.
Yep.
Some of these facilities now are offered as normally unattended. So when people then do go out to visit these plants, they want to make sure that they're walking on something that hasn't corroded.
Right.
Right.
So the back, when you're using metallics and they're subject to corrosion, you can have it might look okay, might look a little bit rusty, but in fact there's very little integrity there,
Right.
and somebody could fall through it. And
Sure.
it does happen, unfortunately. So these products are really safe, and that's again something we're very proud of in fiberglass systems. We're really adding to safety as well as saving money, weight, clients, expenditure. It's that safety aspect as well.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And is that so when we're looking at kind of the why behind it versus like I think we talked about with Lauren Lopez in another show about the competitor being steel. So is the why for fiberglass it's that it's more lightweight, less corrosive,
Correct.
saves
Absolutely.
money.
Yeah, exactly. No, correct. So typically with our structural products, we're 1/3 the weight
Wow.
of a steel equivalent. So you can easily have a few hundred square meters of grading and a few hundred linear meters of hand railing. If you're saving those weight, some big advantages.
Right.
And
Yeah.
because then the actual overall design, the primary design can be a little bit lighter also,
Right.
because it's not, because it doesn't have to support these very heavy products.
Yeah.
So that's primarily weight, as I say, the corrosion aspect, which you quite rightly mentioned, and of course, because there's no maintenance, there's no cost, and then from that point of view, and then equally, you don't have to send people out there like you do with some other products where you have to inspect them manually. So again, it's that saving cost, that's saving shipping, that's saving transportation of people.
Right.
So yeah, there's multiple benefits, but you're quite right, Shelby. So it's weight and the corrosion aspects.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Seems like it's like why wouldn't you just go with fiberglass?
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely,
that's
and
what I'm saying.
we often ask those questions, and so some people talk to us as being, oh, this is new products, and they're not. We as fiberglass systems, our heritage, we've been making products, and for I believe it's almost 70 years.
Do you get that a lot where people are just like, oh, this is a new,
Yeah.
they don't want to, they think it's something brand new that they don't want to commit to or be the first one?
Yeah,
or-
yeah,
Really?
yeah, absolutely. And
A lot of people just think that no, fiberglass, are they as strong as steel? Conventionally, everything is made by steel, right? So
Right.
when sometimes we present to them and then we show them, oh, we are as good, if not better.
Right.
And it saves you money. It gives you a peace of mind that you go out there and 30 years later, it's still there.
Right.
It's not something that won't corrode. And these people will say, oh, wow, really?
Right.
Yeah. So, and we will say, we are in the market for 70 years. We are not new.
yeah, we've been offshore for 40 years. So we got some tremendous case histories, and we can, as Chi Kyung mentioned, we can share that.
Right.
When you share that, as you said, why would you?
Right.
Well, one slight small story. A person I used to work with very well, and he used to tell the story of saying, imagine now trying to go and sell steel in the offshore market. You're going in, you're speaking to a client. Forget that fiberglass product. Don't use that. What you want to use is steel. It's much heavier. It corrodes after 5, 10, 7 years. So you're going to have to replace it. Really heavy. When you cut it, it creates sparks, which is dangerous. So
Need a permit for that.
correct. So forget fiberglass. Here, install steel.
Yeah.
So you think that reverse psychology. So so indeed. So we've we'd still get those questions, and that's our challenge.
Right.
So.
No kidding. And with the applications too in a space like offshore wind, which I know is also not necessarily new, right? But it is kind of it's seen as kind of this newer energy mix we're all looking at. How is FGS adapting and enhancing that in that kind of the new emerging market?
Yeah, so I guess it's as Chi Kyung said, we're not new and offshore. We got lots of experience, and so while the plant, the platform is very different, the actual applications of the piping are similar. From seawater handling to drains to sanitary to drinking water. We supply those offshore to an oil and gas platform, if you like. So from that point of view, there's very little change, very little difference. Again, as one of my friends, one of our engineers always say, hey, the pipe doesn't know where it is. It's just there to do a job.
Right.
It's there to do a function, and it's
Right.
true. So, I think probably more the structural aspects that's opened up to allow us to to grow into the market with those products. That's quite exciting. And also tanks. I think tanks is quite a new development for us to supply, and certainly the tank we supplied just recently in Singapore is a great example of what we can do. So we're offering more. We're packaging up these systems. So
Yeah.
Right.
In terms of the market, I think there are great opportunities around. I mean, we look at China being the leading new renewables things, and then Taiwan is following up. Vietnam is coming in. We actually got 3 new contracts in next year supplying to offshore wind farms, Baltica, Feng Miao, Famosas. So these are opportunities where you look at the government itself is putting a lot of emphasis on these renewables wind farms. So I would say we are still riding on the wave.
Right.
We have a lot of opportunities. What we are actually not the beginner now. We have a certain amount of case history, like Tom said. What we want to do is really to put more things on top. Instead of piping, we want to put our structures, we want to put our handrails, we want to put our tanks there.
Right.
Not just to for more business, but also to actually let these guys know that fiberglass is what you are going for.
Right.
Right. It is a solution. It is something that you want to have a peace of mind. 30 years down the road, you do not need any maintenance. So
It makes sense to me. If wind is a future energy, then you want the structure that supports that technology to also be as future oriented as the energy source itself.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like
Yeah.
that fiberglass provides that
absolutely.
as the supporting structure for harnessing the actual wind.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and for sure. And I think it's obviously it's a clean energy, it's renewable, it's clean, sustainable. And so again, another added benefit. And I think a lot of because these companies are renewable, they appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
So that's another added benefit.
Yeah. Is there anything like what of like working in the offshore wind space? Is there anything that excites you personally about the opportunity for fiberglass and working in offshore wind?
Yeah, it does excite me, and I'm not sure what that says about me, but no, I think it's great. We're fortunate to be in this industry.
Yeah.
I think it's another avenue to go after, and so I think as Ji Kyung said, we're at it's early, still very early days with this industry. There's a lot more to come. There's a lot of projects. As you mentioned, around Taiwan, China, Korea, but also Europe. There's a lot of projects in around Europe, France, down to Spain, right. Atlantic coast. Of course, there's a lot of wind. So that's exciting. There's huge opportunities. There's a lot of projects. We have got some projects now, and we have agreements up till 2030 supplying our products to these projects. So that's exciting. I think as Ji Kyung said, and the fact that we want to add more and more. So we're always looking at scope extension. That's one of our mantras, is to look at what else can we do, what else.
I think that's what I find the most fascinating is like you have such a history of being around for 70 years, but then there's so much potential. Usually with the technology or with a company or a business that's been around for so long, it's like, well,
Yeah, how do you know
how
when to
much
stop?
how much are we just have we reached our steady state of this is just our business? But I feel like fiberglass has a unique position of being able to have that broad history and also so much future potential to, like you just said, to broaden the spectrum of where your technology and where your
absolutely.
product can go.
Yeah, and so that's something else we are looking at, and as part of NOV, the wider NOV, of course, we're looking at floating wind, and with our marine and construction guys and our Gusto colleagues in the Netherlands, they're working on designs for floating wind projects, and we're engaged with those guys and their engineers, and again, even though we're NOV. It's not just a case of, hey, we're going to use your products. They're doing their due diligence.
Right.
Is this fit for purpose?
Right.
Is it is it at the right price point?
Right.
So they're saying, come on, guys, it's NOV. Just give us the jobs. And no. We need to do our due diligence, and quite rightly so. So we have got some when these projects start to roll out, which I expect in the next 2-3 years, they will have Fiberglass Systems products on there. So that's great. That's good to know. We've done all the hard work, if you like. They trust in the, they trust.
They did the due diligence and still came
And still
to
came
the same
back, and still
conclusion.
came back,
That's right.
and came back and said, "Yeah, do you know what? That yes, we know the benefits are real, so
Yeah.
we will use it."
Yeah.
But there's other parts as well of floating wind that we're looking at, and possibilities of making some bigger structures as a part of those designs. Early stages we're going through, and likewise with the subsea part of it as well.
Right.
So the tethering systems.
Right.
Again, there's products there that we can use, and we've actually started to invest, and we're going through a qualification program on some of those items. So,
Nice.
so yeah, it's exciting. That is the word. It is exciting, you know, and that the opportunities we look for. There's lots to go after. So.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
I think it's not only just business in the offshore wind. What I feel is we are doing a part for the future. But putting fiberglass on the green scene is actually what we want to do. And we help the future. We help our children, our grandchildren, you know, save the world. Do our small part and build a better world.
That's right. That's it. That's what makes it feel good. Like, you know, not just look good and be good business sense and all that, but actually make it like make you want to come to work and be part of something special.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
Gosh, thank y'all so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about the business.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. You can see we're both very passionate about the products, and you know, we're fortunate to work in with Fiberglass Systems. It's a great company, and we're it's exciting. The future looks good. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys.
Anytime,
Thank you.
anytime.
Thank you.
And we're back.
Fight.
I don't know what we were doing. I just
The Street Fighter.
Oh,
No?
I don't know.
Anybody out there? My Street Fighter fans?
Anyway,
Round 3. Fight.
I was just like, yeah.
Dodgeball.
I didn't know where to go from there.
Okay.
All right.
And what were they talking about today?
Offshore wind. Yeah, you hear it through the trees. A storm's coming.
The trees offshore?
That was too many dumb things I said.
That would be great to just cut there and then we'll come back to it.